probably recognize that small melody, and even if you outright can't say where it came from, it may sound familiar. Hey, it's Day, and I love talking about manga. Along with that, I'm simply a hopeless romantic, so when this song from the start found me, I was immediately pulled into laufey and her whole discography. So of course, I had to mix my two greatest loves, right? So without further ado, here are laufey songs if they were a manga. Our very first song is Bewitched, which compares the feeling of falling in love to falling under a spell. As laufey sings, "You bewitch me, every second you're with me. I try to think straight, but I'm falling so badly, I'm coming apart. You wrote me a note, cast a spell on my heart, and bewitched me." This song always pulls me into a mystical mood. It kind of paints this picture of a forest in my mind. It's somber, the only thing you can hear is the river stream from a distance. Every footstep is amplified. Each leaf and twig breaks under the pressure of shoes until the meeting of our two main characters. Meet Rose and Harge, our two main characters from the manga. Hi, I'm a witch, and my crush wants me to make a love potion. This manga follows our MC Rose, who is a lone witch who lives in the forest. Her only goal is to live a quiet life away from the kingdom's scrutiny of witches. But one day, her crush of 4 years visits her and requests for a love potion. Ah, the sweet irony. Even from the premise alone, I was immediately hooked into the series. And not only is the start well written, the art creates for such a dreamy atmosphere in contrast to the actual tone of the series. The tone, on the other hand, is a lot sillier than laufey's song. Harge and Rose meet on an awkward note. Rose is a little socially inept and a little bit too forward about her infatuation, while Harge is distant and professional. But with such a big sense of justice and responsibility as a knight, when faced with the clumsy witch, he cannot help but involve himself in the witch's life. They bicker a lot because of this contrast, and Rose, being her silly, and mostly bitter self, she sends Harge on different quests to collect the love potion ingredients. It's almost as if Rose wants to make the time they spend together longer. Now, Rose doesn't actually bewitch Harge, but because of this little trick of hers, they do end up spending a lot of time together. Every time Harge visits to drop off a new ingredient, they spend time eating, bickering, sharing a little bit of their world to each other. And my favorite part about this series is seeing that step-by-step progression of these two's relationship. Every meeting they have has an impact, and I think it just makes these two so human, but even more so, it keeps me as a reader looking forward to how they're going to be different in their next meeting. It is the ultimate slow burn, if I could even call it that, because just like the song says, these two are completely bewitched by each other. At least one point in your life, you will become a distant memory, whether it be for a stranger from the street, or a best friend, or for a past lover. It is an inevitable reality that you will become a distant memory, or worse yet, forgotten. laufey sings of this exact feeling in her cover of Where or When, as she sings of a moment she shares with what seems like a stranger, yet seems familiar at the same time. As laufey sings, "So it seems we've met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows where or when." For Oriana, this is an overnight immediate reality, when suddenly one night, she mysteriously dies alongside her lover, Vincent. Let's talk about the series Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. As the title implies, Oriana is given another chance at life when she wakes up in her 7-year-old body with her memories from her past life intact. Except, of course, this time her lover, Vincent, has no recollection of their past. Instead of a distant memory, she is completely forgotten. Heartbreak. The single word describes what this series does so well. It will break your heart, in the best way possible, if I may add. When I first picked up this series, I didn't have any expectations. Since I have read so many regression stories from before, I'm used to the tropes and themes that come along with the genre. Usually it's revenge, regrets, or the exploration of what you have done differently with a second chance at life. But this series doesn't do that. In fact, Oriana doesn't have any regrets and wants to get back to the exact point in time of her life from before, as fast as possible. If anything, the only changes she's making is to speed up her progression up to that point. And so she does. What she doesn't expect is that, unlike her lover, Vincent, doesn't actually hold any of their past life memories. So, of course, as a reaction, Vincent does find her strange, find the situation strange, and that pretty much sets us up for more heartbreak. But I personally love it. The manga does so well to pull at your heartstrings. In every aspect, there is something that kind of takes your heart and gives it a weird squeeze. You know that feeling when you look back at your memories and you yearn for a certain moment or a certain emotion that you felt at that moment? This manga encapsulates that so perfectly. And I think that's what makes this series stand out from all the other regression stories I've ever read. For the first time, past life isn't painted to be negative, but something to yearn for. Aside from that aspect, the characters, the whole cast of this manga actually makes it so much more tender than it already is. I know I talked a lot about Oriana, but the focus of the narrative is actually quite wider than what I've been describing it as. The series does so well switching between Oriana and Vincent's perspective, so we get to explore more of the side characters like Oriana's best friend Yana and her guard, or Vincent's best friend Miguel. They are just as important to the narrative and carries the same responsibility in giving you that weird, same heart-squeezing feeling I'm talking about. And the relationships, the friendships to be specific, are actually my favorite parts of the series. It's just nice to see such tender scenes between people, between friends, even platonically. I don't think I've read any other manga that paints platonic relationships as tenderly as this one before. It literally just makes me so giddy when I'm reading, and I haven't even gotten to any of the romantic chapters yet. Literally every chapter I read from this series just has me like this. It drives me crazy, but I personally love it. For our final song, we have laufey's Valentine. What I particularly love about Valentine is its focus on the clumsiness of a person's first experiences when falling in love. In this song, laufey often sings of questions like, he tells me I'm pretty, don't know how to respond, I tell him he's pretty too, can I say that, don't have a clue. Or, what if he's the last one I kiss? What if he's the only one I'll ever miss? There's a lot of uncertainty throughout this song, yet it keeps its sweetness in the melody, because even in that uncertainty, that feeling of first love will always be a tender experience. Similarly, in the series, her and his relationship, we get to explore the ups and downs of a first love between our two MCs, Takumi and Kaho. Except they didn't exactly start out like a normal couple. In fact, they didn't really start out with mutual feelings. Kaho simply just wanted to date out of curiosity, and one day she overhears her classmate Takumi say he'll also date anybody. So taking her chances, she immediately asks him to date her right on that spot. And Takumi, who's also kind of just going with the flow, accepts. I know they're a little kooky, and just hearing how they started out sounds like it would be disastrous, but these two are one of the sweetest protagonists I've had the pleasure to read about in a while. While they're both imperfect, the manga really does well to keep the communication open between the two. They talk about what they expect from each other, what they wish to do in a relationship, what places they want to visit, what foods they want to eat, what fears they want to face. It really is just a wholesome exploration of two inexperienced people try to live out what they think a relationship entails. It's exactly like the song Valentine, actually. What would you do in their place if you suddenly had a Valentine in your life? For them, quite literally in just a day, they had a Valentine, and it's, fun to read about. The series is unlicensed and is quite early on its chapters, so I don't have a final judgment on it yet, but I do recommend checking it out if you do like the previous series that I mentioned. Now, one thing I haven't talked about but I think is worth mentioning is that these 3 series I've talked about today is actually written by the same author, Eiko Mutsuhana. All of these manga were initially light novels, which has been written by Eiko Mutsuhana, and now has been adapted into the manga series that they are, with different artists and different character designers. Coincidentally enough, I wasn't aware that Mutsuhana sensei wrote any of these stories when I added them into my favorites, until later when, I looked into them. But I think it really shows how consistent Mutsuhana sensei's writing is when it comes to romance. Did I make this video just to love mail Eiko Mutsuhana and laufey? Perhaps, but you guys get 3 beautiful series to check out for that. With that, this has been Day. Checking out. Keep on dreaming, peeps. Bye!